I'm so excited for this evening. I can't believe we're finally getting to show people what we do.
No, exactly. I'm really looking forward to the evening as well and to share our important work with everyone. So that's great. It's going to be a great evening, Erica.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
Good evening and welcome to Nepal. I'm here with Aruna, a good friend and colleague, and the genius behind SGT. We're delighted that you could join us this evening so that we can show you how we stop girl trafficking.
I wish we could be here all together. You and I, Erika and Norbu, Richard and Paula Kenny, and our wonderful Stop Girl Trafficking supporters. I hope soon we will be together. For tonight, I send you my thanks so that we can show you some of our SGT works. It is not easy or simple, but your help and kindness keep us motivated here in Nepal to do our best.
Thank you, Aruna ji. And now over to another colleague and good friend, Jon in Colorado.
Greetings from Colorado. Jon Krakauer here. Some of you may know me as a writer, but I also happen to be a longtime board member of the American Himalayan Foundation. Welcome to our 9th and first virtual evening to stop girl trafficking. Of all the magnificent work this foundation does in the Himalaya, Stop Girl Trafficking, SGT, is the program that's closest to my heart. Although I've been involved with SGT for 25 years now, I didn't appreciate how truly amazing it is until Dr. Aruna Uprety took me to some remote villages to hang out with a number of the girls enrolled in SGT and visit with them in their homes and schools. We're going to take you to a couple of these villages this evening so you can see what I witnessed firsthand. The parents' desperation leaves them extremely vulnerable to the false assurances of predatory traffickers who promise they will take these beloved girls to Dubai or some other distant place where they will be given lucrative employment. Instead of being taken to a better life, however, the girls are often sold into sexual slavery at Mumbai brothels or sleazy Kathmandu dance bars. This is an all too common occurrence from one end of Nepal to the other. But thanks to SGT, there is a way for girls to avoid this tragic fate. Tonight you will meet, as I did, 4 girls whom SGT not only kept from being trafficked, but transformed into confident, self-reliant young women. To help us understand why it's so important to stop girl trafficking, Professor Siddharth Kara is here to provide a global perspective on the trafficking of human beings. Siddharth, who is the author of an award-winning series of books about modern slavery in all its inhumane manifestations, including sex trafficking, is one of the world's foremost experts on present-day slavery. His remarkable work opened my eyes to the horrifying extent of human trafficking around the globe. Ladies and gentlemen, Siddharth Kara.
Let's take a moment and talk about modern-day slavery. There are more than 40 million slaves in the world today. Those slaves generate profits in excess of $150 billion per year for their exploiters. Now, crucially, up to 2/3 of those profits are generated by sex trafficking. Sex trafficking is the most profitable form of slavery the world has ever seen. This is because young girls are trafficked and forced into commercial sex acts 8, 9, 10, 15 times a day, 7 days a week, 52 weeks out of the year, for as many years as they may live. It is utterly corrosive, degrading, exploitative, and dehumanizing. It strips the individual of every marker of their humanity and reduces them to brutes fit only to generate profit and pleasure for their exploiters. The most powerful tool for protecting these young girls from being trafficked into exploitation, being trafficked into forced prostitution, is education. Nepal is one of the most disadvantageous places a young girl can be born. It is poor, it is mired in conflict, economic corrosion, environmental catastrophe, earthquakes, and sandwiched between two superpowers. Giving these young girls an education demonstrates not just their value to themselves, but value within their communities. And that's exactly what the Stop Girl Trafficking program does. You see, it doesn't just help the young girl. It transforms perceptions within communities of what the value of being female is. It's not just about domestic work, getting married, and procreating. The young girls who go through the Stop Girl Trafficking program, who graduate and go on to have jobs and professions, are showing their communities that there is a greater value that they have and that they can offer. And that transformation is taking place in Nepal as a direct result of the Stop Girl Trafficking program. I have traveled all over Nepal with the American Himalayan Foundation team. Bruce, Aruna, Erica, and the other members of this dedicated and compassionate organization. I have seen firsthand the value of their programs and the transformation they are achieving. This is one of the most powerful ways you can help protect and empower the young girls of Nepal. Give them an education, give them a chance, give them a brighter future, and help transform this beautiful country and transform the lives of these young girls. Thank you.
In March 2020, schools were closed and Nepal went into total lockdown. When travel restrictions were lifted briefly, Aruna and her team had the opportunity to visit some of the girls and their families. They also delivered food to over 3,000 families in SGT communities. When the lockdown returned, they relied on the alums and Friday teachers to help the girls in their villages as best they could. It was a difficult time for everybody. The girls' parents couldn't earn for months, and many of them went deeper into debt. After the lockdown was lifted in November, Aruna and her team went into overdrive, and by mid-January, all the school supplies, now including face masks, had been delivered. At last count, we had over 12,650 girls in SGT, in 500 schools across Nepal.
Thanks, Bruce. And now over to Erica and Norbu in San Francisco.
Thank you, John, and thank you, Siddharth, so very much. Yes, visiting the girls in their villages is important. We learn so much from listening to them, meeting their families, and seeing their situations. This can be tough work, and actually meeting the girls for us is immensely motivating.
That's so true, Erica. And I love the field reports, but nothing really beats the experience of walking through the villages and meeting the girls in person. I remember our first visit after the 2015 earthquakes. Aruna brought us to a school in a mango orchard where the kids were having class outside. Afterwards, we walked through a slum just across the dirt road and met Birpana, who at 14 was looking after her two younger siblings. They were living in the ruins of the home, and she was taking care of them. Her parents were both away for months at a time, working in the brick kilns. She told us her story, and she politely offered us some tea. This girl was shy, but so impressive, and now she's 19.
Namaste, my name is Bipana Dhanuar. I am in grade 12. There are 5 people in my family. My parents work on other people's farms for 6 months each year, and in a brick kiln for the other 6 months. Before SGT found me, I would go to school only for 6 months in a year. The other 6 months, I went with my parents to work at the brick factory or in the farm. I was missing a lot of classes.
मैले चाहिँ फ्राइडे टिचरको रूपमा काम गर्दा चाहिँ
I also teach the Friday classes, where we help the girls with their studies and I tell them about girl trafficking and child marriage and how it can be stopped.
बाहिरीको बालविवाहहरू रोकथाम गर्ने महिला हिंसा चाहिँ को-कोलाई हुन सक्छ हाम्रो समुदायमै हुन सक्छ है
देखेका छौ ल कसले देखाएको छ ल भन त ओके ल भन त
हाम्रो चाहिँ घर नजिकै एउटा श्रीमानले श्रीमतीलाई रक्सी खाएर कुटपिट गरेर टर्चर गरेको थियो अनि छोरी नै छोरी भयो भनेर छोरा नभएको भनेर उसलाई मानसिक टर्चर दिएको थियो
स्टप गर्ल ट्राफिकिङ चेलीबेटी बेच
With SGT's support, I've been able to study so far. Many of my friends have already been married off, and compared to them, I feel proud.
अवस्था र मेरो अवस्था देख्दा चाहिँ निकै गर्व लाग्छ एसजिटी र एएचएफबाट चाहिँ मलाई सहयोग
SGT not only supports us from afar, but they also often ask us about our studies and well-being.
एरिका म्याम
Erica ma'am even came to my house to check on my condition and promised further support if needed.
अरूमा
Her visit encouraged me to study harder.
थियो
I went to see Bipana again 2 years ago, and as you saw, she isn't a shy little girl anymore. Because of Stop Girl Trafficking, she wasn't sent away or married off like her mother was at 15. She got to stay in school, and she's now in grade 12, and she works as a teacher. I really admire her.
मैले चाहिँ हैन एउटा केटीलाई चाहिँ हामीले चाहिँ भेटेका
We
थियौं
met a girl named Lakshmi. Her dad passed away and mother left. She is now living with her aunt, who is very poor. We, the alums, discussed about her and wrote a letter to the SGT office, recommending her to be accepted into SGT.
लेखेर रेस्टमा पठायौं जोखिमबाट
बस्छ नि है हुन्छ त्यसो भए किन चिठी नलेख्ने लेखौँ न त त्यसमा
Yes, dearest. आदरणीय Aruna ma'am.
But sometimes school alone is not enough. Sometimes SGT needs to be much, much more. Meet Selena.
मेरो घरमा चाहिँ अब
My family has always been poor. My sister was married off when she was only 16 years old. My other sister was sent to Kathmandu to work in someone's home as a maid when she was just 10 years old. She was never educated and was married at the tender age of 15. My mother passed away when I was 6 years old. Since both my sisters had already married, there was no one at home to take care of me. I had to do all the chores. There was no one to look after me, and our economic situation was so bad that when I reached grade 4, I stopped going to school. Until SGT found me and supported me to continue school.
त्यसपछि मैले 4 कक्षादेखि नै एसजिटी को सहयोग पाएँ जब मेरो बुवा चाहिँ जाड रक्सी खाएर घरमा साथीहरू लिएर आउनुहुन्थ्यो
My father would come home drunk with his friends. When he was drunk, my father would be senseless and not know anything that's going around. At that time, his friends would act badly and try to touch me. They would say, "Come with me, I'll give you money." I would be really scared. Many a time when my father brought his friends, I would run away from home. I would often find a place far away and sleep out in the open. I would feel so frightened and would cry all night. I didn't tell anyone about this. I was sure no one wanted to listen to me or would believe me. I even attempted suicide. They found me and took me to a hospital. I survived because of that. I slowly began telling all of this to a Friday teacher I met. She informed the SGT staff about me and my story. I received support from them and felt safe there. Now I am working as a receptionist at SGT office and I'm very happy. Without the support and care from AHF and SGT, I would be in extreme danger of getting abused and trafficked.
धेरै जोखिममा पर्थे म हैन
Selena's story is sadly not unique. Her older sisters were married by 15. Her mother had died, and her father was abusive and drunk. These are all red flags for the SGT team. Fortunately for Selena, a teacher cared and listened and knew how to help her. Selena is Dalit, and Dalits are the lowest rung on the Hindu caste system. Caste and ethnic discrimination are both widespread, and they're real risk factors that we take into account in selecting girls. In fact, more than 70% of the girls in SGT are from Dalit or other marginalized groups.
Janak is also a Dalit, attended a Friday teacher training a few months ago. Bruce was also there and was so impressed with her that we wanted to share her story too.
Namaste,
my name is Janak Kumari Bika. I'm 16 years old and in grade 11. I have experienced a lot of discrimination. Being a lower caste, they would gossip about me. We face discrimination in the community as well. They don't drink the water we touch. People wouldn't even let us step on their land. They'd say, "You're from a lower caste, don't come inside, stay away from here." My older sisters didn't go to school because we were too poor. They were married off young, just 14 or 15 years old. If I hadn't received support from SGT, I would probably have worked as a child laborer, or perhaps I would also have been married off young like my sisters. I can have these dreams because of SGT. My mother used to tell me she wouldn't be able to keep me in school after grade 5. But SGT found me, and now I want to work on behalf of girls and help eliminate the issues they face.
Janak's a fighter. She's fighting all that discrimination, and she's still at the top of her class. She's just a great example of how being an SGT turns girls at risk into independent, confident young women. I love that she wants to be a teacher. She wants to educate other girls like her and help them stand up for their rights.
I've often heard this question from our supporters. How do we find the girls who need to be in STOP Girl Trafficking? Well, it turns out there are lots of ways. Sometimes it's a referral from an alum, as we saw with Bipana. Sometimes a girl will be found by a community leader or another SGT girl. Or, like with the next girl you'll meet, who is just 8 years old, she was found by a teacher.
My name is Sangeeta Madhi. I study in grade 2. When I grow up, I want to be a policewoman.
Sangeeta's situation is really bad. She has not received any love from her parents. She has to live with her grandparents, who are barely able to feed themselves. They work day and night to be able to take care of her.
हजुरआमाले चाहिँ इटा भट्टाबाट उही छोडेर लिएर आएको भन्ने
Her grandparents told me that her parents just left her at the brick kiln. This had a big impact on her studies. At first, she wouldn't utter a single word. Now she talks well and can do simple math. She has made huge improvements. I feel that if she continues to get support and is nurtured in the right environment, she'll be able to stand on her own 2 feet. She has potential.
आफ्नै खुट्टामा आफै उभिन चाहिँ सक्छ उसको क्षमता चाहिँ छ
I am happiest when I get to play with Roji and Amrita. SGT has given me pencils, books, a bag, a dress, eraser, and a sharpener.
Children abandoned in a brick kiln. You can't make this up. This story could have had a bad, bad end. The principal of Sangeeta's school told us that she was essentially a street urchin, and without our help, he did not know what would have become of her. It's a frightening thought. Another question we're often asked is how SGT reaches all 12,000 girls all across Nepal. Well, it takes some serious logistics to get 12,000 backpacks full of uniforms and notebooks and pens into trucks and delivered on time. But it gets done every year. And the SGT team meets and checks on all the girls at least 4 times a year. Our amazing Deputy Director Charu went along on one of those trips, and she met a gutsy young girl.
Today was the first distribution. We do this in every school, like 500 plus schools. We do this twice a year. In the bag, there were supplies like stationeries, pens, copies, sweaters, and uniform. I think if the girls don't get our support, the girls wouldn't be able to afford to come to school. They would easily fall into child marriage, child labor, and unsafe migration. बहिनीहरू सबैलाई फेरि नमस्कार. मैले तिमीहरू सबैको हातमा चिठीहरू देखेको छु. त्यो हामीलाई नै होला पक्कै पनि. कसैले हामीलाई पढेर सुनाउने हो कि?
म सुनाउँछु म्याम. मलाई सहयोग गर्ने अमेरिकन हिमालयन फाउन्डेसन संस्थालाई धेरै धेरै धन्यवाद दिन चाहन्छु.
I would love to see the time when there is no more trafficking in Nepal and when we can say that it's safe for each and every girl here. I know it's a big dream, but hopefully one day it will come true.
Namaste. My name is Sanu Maya Tamang and I'm in grade 8. I live with my mom and my sisters. When I was young, my father passed away. My mother couldn't afford for all of us to go to school, so my sisters didn't get to study. Instead, they had to go to Kathmandu to work. One day at school, I was outside listening to my teachers talking to some visitors. They noticed me and called me inside. The visitors asked me about my family and our situation. They were from SGT and said I could join the program. Ever since I joined SGT in grade 5, my mother has never had to buy school supplies, backpacks, or uniforms for me. I appreciate SGT's help, and so does my mom. Her daughter is now getting an education.
Shall we see what happened to the letter Bipana wrote? I was amazed to learn that the SGT office gets almost 1,000 letters, emails, and calls from the girls every month.
Namaste, I am Suraksha and I am part of Dr. Aruna's team at SGT. Every week, our team in Kathmandu receives letters, calls and emails from hundreds of our SGT girls all over Nepal. Some of them are updates on girls' situations from Friday teachers. Others are from the girls themselves just checking in or asking for advice on personal or school issues. And occasionally, one is from an alum who has found a girl in their village who is in real trouble.
The meeting with the alums and the Friday teachers is also very, very useful. We had 10 Friday teachers.
Where it was? In Suket? Kanchanpur. Oh no, it was in Kailali.
Kailali.
Yes.
They have been married.
Excuse me?
Yes.
एउटा हाम्रो लेटर भेरिफाई गरेको एउटा इम्पोर्टेन्ट लेटर आएछ यो काभ्रेको आजाद. We handed Bipana's letter to Dr. Aruna and she set a date to go and meet Lakshmi, the girl Bipana had nominated to be part of SGT. Bruce was meeting with Dr. Aruna and some of the team when the letter arrived. So he asked if he could go along.
Sure. Yes, so please make sure that all logistics are made.
A few days after receiving Bipana's letter, Aruna and I drove the 3 or so hours to meet Lakshmi and her aunt and uncle. We were met at their small home by Bipana and Bimala, who is another alum from the area. We sat outside by a dusty road and talked to Lakshmi about her life and her hopes for the future. She wants to be a teacher when she finishes school. It was clear to both Aruna and I that Lakshmi's aunt and uncle were barely scraping by. They seemed to generally care for Lakshmi, but the costs of keeping her in school were a huge burden, and we all know too well where that can lead. We agreed to enrol her in SGT. We also learned while we were there that Laxmi has a younger sister who is living with other relatives. Her aunt confided that these relatives were not particularly loving and often kept her out of school to do household chores. Aruna asked Bipana and Bimala to look into the sister's situation. If need be, Aruna would find alternative living arrangements for her and, of course, include her in SGT as well.
Whenever Aruna or one of the SGT staff is at a school or village, they take the opportunity to meet with girls and their parents. It is during these visits that Aruna reminds the families of the dangers girls face from traffickers, the dangers of child marriage, and the importance of education.
यसरी सानैमा बिहा गर्यो भने अरु के हुन्छ शिक्षाबाट वञ्चित भयो भने के हुन्छ
रोजगार पाउँदैनौ आर्थिक अवस्था कमजोर हुन्छ
आर्थिक अवस्था कमजोर भयो भने के हुन्छ खाना लाउन नै सबभन्दा महत्त्वपूर्ण कुरा खाना लाउन स्कुल जान समस्या हैन अनि फेरि बच्चाहरु पनि त्यस्तै हुन्छ त्यसै कारणले गर्दा तपाईहरुले आफ्नो छोरीहरुलाई तिमीहरु भागेर नजानु भन्ने भनेछ सबैले भनेछ अनि छोराहरुलाई चाहिँ नबगाउनु भनेछ
Is important information to impart. Most of the parents of SGT girls never went to school themselves, and it is only when they see that educated girls are an asset to their families and to their communities do they really understand and begin to appreciate the value of their female children.
अघि हामीले जुन कुरा गर्यौ नि गरिबीको कारणले गर्दाखेरि के हुन्छ भनेपछि गरिबीको कारणले गर्दाखेरि स्कुल नगएपछि बेचिने सम्भावना बढ्न सक्ने सम्भावना छ तिमीहरु कसैलाई लगेर म तिमीलाई धेरै जागिर दिन ठुलो जागिर दिन्छु भनेर कसैले भन्यो भने तिमीहरु जान्छौ
जादैन
किन
त्यसै
कारणले तिमीहरुको विचारमा सबभन्दा महत्त्वपूर्ण कुरा के रहेछ त जिन्दगीमा शिक्षा रहेछ तिमीहरु
In spite of all the challenges, we were able to enroll 1,500 new SGT girls. And as you have seen, story of Sangeeta and Lakshmi, there are many more other girls whose life will be much better because you have helped them. We really thank you from bottom of our heart. I hope coming year I will be able to come myself and share with you challenges, stories, and smiles of our girls. Till then, a big hug and thank you, all of you.
Well, thank you again for joining us this evening. For those of you who are here in California, to those in New York, and to the early risers in Nepal, namaste. I hope the girls you've met and the stories you've heard have shed light on their difficult situation. There are 12,000 reasons to be involved, and I hope you can join us this evening in making an impact. Every gift matters. $100, for example, will keep a girl safe and in school for a year. 500 will do so for 5 girls. And 1,000 will take a girl all the way to graduation. So please help us reach our goal of $50,000 tonight, so 500 girls can attend school. We hope you will join our appeal by clicking the donate button on the bottom of your screen. And for a little incentive, everyone who makes a donation this evening will receive one of these beautiful linen face coverings donated by Prana Masks. From all of us at AHF, please stay safe and healthy. Thank you. Erica?
Thank you so much for joining us. Together we can stop girl trafficking. One girl at a time, and we can change that girl's future from dread to hope. Thank you again.